Hello, good morning, and good night, and welcome to DJ Crown's Plays. I'm DJ Crowns, and we're back with another redstone tutorial for you all. And today we're going to be covering flush 2x2s without the use of slime blocks. So let's get to showing off the doors. So first, we have a 2x2 flush with our pistons pulling the upper blocks back into the sides, as you can see there. And the way this one works is when you click the button, it hard powers the block it's on, sending a pulse through the redstone dust below, soft powering the block to the right of it. The repeater then takes that pulse and sends it into this redstone dust here, soft powering the block with the two redstone torches on it, briefly turning them off. The redstone line over here then turns off, and 2 ticks later on both of these repeaters, the lower blocks of our door get retracted down. But that's the left torch. So the right torch, it then, when it turns off, is no longer powering this block. So that torch right there turns on. Then that torch is no longer hard powering this block. Or that torch, sorry, starts hard powering that block, my bad. And then this torch right here turns off. And because that one turns off, our redstone line across the top turns off, and then retracts our upper door blocks back one space. But then 3 ticks later on both of the repeaters, you can see here and here, these pistons get turned off and then retract the door blocks and the pistons inside the door back and into the wall, as you can see there. And second, we have another 2x2 flush that pulls the blocks up and down, as you can see there. And the way this one works is basically the same as the last 2x2 over there, but just wired slightly different so that we could have the pistons above and below. Both work very well and are quick, cheap, and easy to build. And with that out of the way, let's get to the tutorials. So let's start with the 2x2 flush that pulls the upper blocks back into the sides. For this build, you will need 60 solid blocks of any type like smooth stone or cobblestone, 1 transparent block like glass and slabs, 4 door blocks of any type, 14 redstone dust, 8 sticky pistons, 6 repeaters, 4 redstone torches, and 2 wooden buttons. So as you can see, the build takes up a 6 by 8 by 8 block area, and the floor sits 2 blocks off the ground in line with the 3rd block up or the diamond block here. All the redstone fits inside the quartz block areas, and the iron blocks represent the rest of the build area. The gold and netherite blocks are laid out so you can easily follow along and get the proper spacing for the build. And once again, the diamond block represents your floor level. So with that out of the way, let's begin. So first, we are going to come to the bottom right corner of our 6x8 area, so right here, and count 4 spaces to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Place a block, a redstone dust on top of that block, a temporary block to the right of that block, a block on top of our temporary block, 2 blocks behind our temporary block, and then remove the temporary block. Next, from the last block we place, so right here, we're going to place another temporary block behind it, a block on top of the temporary block, a block behind our temporary block, another temporary block behind that, with another block on top of it, 1 more block to the left of our temporary block, and then remove both temporary blocks. Next, from the block with redstone dust on it, we are going to place a repeater coming out from the block to the right of it, so from right here, pointing towards the center of our line of blocks, a redstone dust in front of that, and 2 redstone torches on the left and right sides of our center block. just like that. We then are going to swing around to the back side. So swinging around the back side, we're going to place a redstone dust on the block 4 blocks away from the top right corner. So this was the bottom right corner. This is the top right corner. So 1, 2, 3, 4 dust. And a repeater coming out of the block to the left of the redstone dust and pointing into the block with our redstone torches on it. Just like that. Next, we are going to come over to the right redstone torch, so right here, and count 1 space to the right, 1. Place a block, another to the right of that, 2 behind those, 2 temporary blocks behind those, and 2 sticky pistons on top of both temporary blocks facing upwards, and then remove the temporary blocks. Next, we are going to place 2 redstone dust coming from the right redstone torch towards the right side of the build, just like that. 2 repeaters in front of our dust pointing into our sticky pistons, just like that. And then set both to 2 ticks delay by tapping left trigger or right clicking them once. Now we are going to swing back around to the front of the build and place a block on top of the right redstone torch, a redstone torch on the right side of that block, a block on top of that redstone torch, a torch on top of that block, a block to the left of that torch, a sticky piston on the left side of that block facing to the left, a block on top of that sticky piston, another sticky piston to the right of our other sticky piston, also facing to the left, and finally 1 more block on top of our redstone torch. Just like that. Next, from the last block we placed, so right here, we're going to place a repeater coming out from the block above our redstone torch and pointing into the block above our sticky piston, just like that. And then set it to 3 ticks delay by tapping left trigger or right clicking it twice, just like that. And finally, place 1 redstone dust on top of the other piston beside to power both of them, just like that. Now from the block the repeater is pointing into, so right here, we are going to place a block on top of it, a block to the right of that, a glass block to the left of the block that the repeater is pointing into, so right there, and 3 more blocks to the left of that. Bam. Next, from the last block we placed, we are going to place a temporary block to the left of it, so from right here, temporary block, a block on top of that temporary block, another temporary block coming out to the front from our other temporary block, right there, 2 sticky pistons underneath both temporary blocks facing to the right, so right here, just like that, and then remove both temporary blocks. We then are going to come back to the right side and place redstone dust running all the way across from the block above our redstone torch to the block just before the block above our pistons on the left. So right here. We then are going to place a redstone repeater and point it into the block above our pistons on the left side and set it to 3 ticks of delay by tapping left trigger or right clicking it twice. And finally place 2 more redstone dust on top of both pistons, and you should see all your pistons are now powered. Next, we are going to come to the middle of our piston arms and place our last 2 sticky pistons underneath the blocks with the powered redstone, so right here, facing to the front of the build. And then we're going to place in all 4 of our door blocks on all 4 sticky piston faces, just like that. Now all we have to do is cover it up and add our input. So now we're going to come back down to the redstone dust at the front of our build, so right here, place a block on top of it, a wooden button on top of that, 3 blocks to the left, 1, 2, 3, a block to the right of our door blocks to make a temporary staircase, climb up the staircase, and then place 4 blocks in line and starting from the glass block over to the repeater, just like that. We then are going to drop back down and place 2 more blocks coming up from our temporary staircase, 1, 2, 3 blocks to the left, 1, 2, 3, and 2 blocks coming back down surrounding our door and blocks. Now we are going to swing around to the back side of the build and place a block on top of the unpowered redstone dust, a wooden button on top of that block, 3 blocks to the right, 1, 2, 3, and then 3 blocks coming out from both of our bottom piston arms connecting our 2 floors together. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Bam. And finally, from the back left side, we are going to place 3 blocks underneath our 2 piston arms. So right here, 1, 2, 3. 2 blocks coming up from there, 1, 2, 3 blocks to the right, 1, 2, 3. 1 coming down, and then 3 blocks underneath the right side surrounding our door and blocks. And bam! Your 2x2 flush with the upper pistons pulling the blocks back into the sides is now complete. Hopefully it serves you well. Moving on, we also have the 2x2 flush that pulls the blocks up and down, as you can see there. For this build, you will need 54 solid blocks of any type like smooth stone or cobblestone, 5 transparent blocks of any type like glass and slabs, 4 door blocks of any type, 16 redstone dust, 8 sticky pistons, 3 repeaters, 2 redstone torches, 2 target blocks, and 2 wooden buttons. So as you can see, the build takes up a 6 by 6 by 8 block area, and the floor sits 2 blocks off the ground in line with the 3rd block up or the diamond block here. And with that, let's begin. So first we are going to come to the bottom right corner of our 6 by 6 area, so right here, and count 2 spaces to the left, 1, 2, place a block, place another block behind that, a temporary block behind that block, a block on top of our temporary block, 2 redstone torches on the left and right sides of that block, so right here, and then remove the temporary block. Next, from the block with the redstone torches on it, so right here, we are going to place a block behind it on the ground, a temporary block behind that, a block on top of that temporary block, a block behind the temporary block, and remove the temporary block. Just like that. We then are going to come back to the front of our line of blocks we just placed, so right here, and place a redstone dust on the block furthest from the redstone torches, a repeater in front of that pointing into the block with the redstone torches on it, swing around the back side and place another dust on the block furthest from the redstone torches, so right here, skip a block forward, and place another repeater pointing into the block with the redstone torches. Just like that. Now back at the front of the build, we are going to come to the block with the redstone torches on it, so right here, and count 2 spaces to the left, 1, 2, place a block, a temporary block in front of that, a temporary block to the right of that, 2 sticky pistons on top of both temporary blocks facing upwards, and then remove both temporary blocks. Just like that. Next, we are going to come to the block behind the left sticky piston, so right here, and place a redstone dust on it, 2 blocks to the left, 1, 2, a temporary block behind the last block we placed, so right here, a block on top of that temporary block, remove the temporary block, and then place 3 redstone dust across the blocks we just placed. So right there. Bam. Next, from the powered redstone dust 2 blocks away from our left piston, we are going to place a glass block on top of it. So right here, glass block. A glass block on the dust behind that, so right there. A temporary block on top of that glass block. A target block to the right of our temporary block. Remove the temporary block, and then place 2 more redstone dust on both glass blocks, connecting to your target block. Now coming over to the right redstone torch, we are going to place a block on top of it, a temporary block behind that block, a block on top of our temporary block, a temporary block on top of that block, a target block to the left of that block, remove both temporary blocks, and then place 2 redstone dust running up from the block above our redstone torch, connecting to our target block. Next, from the dust above our right redstone torch, we are going to place a glass on top of it, a glass block on top of the dust behind that, a temporary block in front of that, a glass block on top of the temporary block, remove the temporary block, and run 3 redstone dust up all 3 pieces of glass, just like this. Now from the top piece of glass, we're going to place a block to the left of it, so right here, a repeater on top of that block facing to the left, set to 3 ticks delay, just like that. 2 sticky pistons to the left of that block facing downwards, just like that. 2 sticky pistons behind those, also facing downwards. 2 sticky pistons on the back piston faces, facing forward. A block on top of the piston in front of our repeater. And 3 redstone dust on top of the other 3 pistons, just like this. And you should see all your pistons are now extended. Next, we are going to come back down to our sticky piston faces and place in all 4 of our door blocks, just like this. And now all we have to do is add our input and cover it up. Now we are going to come back down to the unpowered redstone dust at the front of the build, so right here, and place a block on top of it, a wooden button on top of that block, and 3 blocks to the left. Just like that. We then are going to come to the right of our door blocks, so right here, and place a temporary block on top of the block with the redstone torches on it, 3 blocks on top of that, 1, 2, 3, and remove the temporary block, just like that. Next, on the left side of our door blocks, we are going to place a temporary block on the right side of the glass block closest to us, 3 blocks on top of that, remove the temporary block, place 3 more blocks in front of the blocks we just placed, 1, 2, 3, 3 to the right, 1, 2, 3, 2 coming back down, 1, 2, surrounding our door and blocks. We then are going to swing around to the back side of the build, so swinging around the back side of the build, and place a block on top of the unpowered redstone dust, a wooden button on top of that block, 3 blocks to the right, 1, 2, 3, and then 3 blocks coming out from both of our bottom piston arms, connecting our 2 floors together, just like this. Next, we are going to place a block above and below both of our target blocks, so right here and here on both sides. And then from the left side, we're going to place 3 blocks coming up from the floor, covering our target block, 1, 2, 3. 3 blocks to the right, covering our top piston arms, 1, 2, 3. And 2 blocks coming back down, covering our other target block and surrounding our door and blocks. And bam! Your 2x2 flush with the pistons above and below is now complete. And hopefully it serves you well. So yeah, I just want to mention a couple things real quick though. Um, so these doors, you can extend out their input lines and move them pretty easily. This one, just on this side, you want to, well actually both sides, you want to extend this out right here and not right here. If you do it right here, what'll happen is, I'll even show you. We place that redstone there, and now you can see that redstone line is no longer pointing into this block. So because of that, it won't actually open the door. If we take this button, place a button there, you can see it's no longer going to open the door because it's not pointing into that block anymore. But if we remove that, and then now place our dust going over here, place a button, you can see the door will open. But that's moving the input line for this door. It's pretty simple. You do the other side the exact same, and you can move it out to wherever you want. And yeah, but this door over here is actually even easier because our lines are just straight out from those blocks. So we can just extend this straight out to wherever we want, and same with this side, out to wherever you want. But if you want to add on pulse extenders with these doors, it's a little bit more tricky, but it's still pretty simple. So all we got to do to add on a pulse extender here is we're going to take our redstone comparator, and we're going to place one right here. We're going to place another one right there beside it, facing in the opposite direction. Place 2 redstone dust just like that. One more right there so that it connects all together. And now when you click the button, the door is going to stay open for much longer. Super simple. But this door, you can do kind of in 2 different ways. So you could do basically the exact same thing we just did on the other door. So you could drop that block down, and then you could power, like put a redstone dust, sorry, right there. Comparator right there, facing that way. Comparator right there, facing that way. A dust behind that one, and 2 dusts right there. And then you want to take your button right here and place it over here instead. Place a block underneath there, a dust on top of that block, and then a repeater pointing into right there. And now when you click this button, you can see it stays open for much longer. And the other side you can actually do a little bit easier, but we'll do that in a second. But there's also another way we could do this side if you still wanted to have your button there or whatever. We can just remove this stuff back and put the other stuff back real quick. Place our block there, that there, our redstone dust that was there. And now from here we can actually just go comparator there, comparator right here facing in the other direction, keeping it inside of our area. And then we're going to place a dust right there, but now you can see this dust turn to the side like I was just showing you over there. So now it's not going to power this block. But if we take a target block and just place one right there, now it's actually going to power that block. And now you can see we get a nice pulse extender, and it stays within the build area. But the back side you can do a little tiny bit different and easier, to be honest. So we can break that out. We're going to place these 2 just like that. One right there, and then comparator right there facing that way, comparator right there facing that way. Dust, 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 and then extend this out by 2 blocks, a dust right there. We move our button over here, repeater pointing in right there, and bam, we get a nice pulse extension. Beautiful. But anyways, I hope you all had fun learning how to make these 2 different 2x2 flush piston doors in today's tutorial. And I hope it was easy enough to follow along and understand. In the next tutorial we will be covering more flush 2x2s, but using slime blocks this time. So keep your eyes open for that one, and I'll see you next time. Please like, comment, and give me any suggestions you may have. And if you really liked it, then consider subscribing or checking out my Let's Play where we're on a mission to automate every farm possible in the Bedrock edition of the game. But anyways, with that, I'll see you all in the next one. This has been your friendly neighborhood DJ Crowns, and we're out of here.